an idea worthy of the 21st century. Europe hopes that Russia will not turn its back on this strategic partnership with the European Union. This goes well beyond the specific bilateral relationship between each of our EU members. The existing bilateral disputes have to be settled, for indeed, the Union is founded on the solidarity between its member states. Russia must commit itself to negotiating this framework agreement while putting forward its legitimate interests and make sure that they will be taken into account. But Russia must also try and reassure European countries and bring the questions to these, bring the answers to these questions that are founded. In energy, we have to move on from suspicions to reciprocal security. I heard what President Medvedev had to say about establishing a new security pact, as he put it, from Vancouver to Vladivostok. I must say that we are ready to discuss this. Indeed, safety and security in Europe and beyond Europe is our common good, and it therefore becomes a natural field in which we can cooperate, in which Europe and Russia can cooperate. This cooperation has to build upon what we have already achieved, although we can go further than that. In NATO first, the NATO-Russia Council, which is in fact a symbol of the end of the Cold War, is a framework, a forum in which we can develop a common strategic reflection and ideas. In the EU framework also, we have seen that Russia has taken part militarily in the EUFOR operation in Chad, and this could herald a true partnership. And I must say we were delighted to see Russia on board here. And I think that Russia could become a privileged partner in the European security and defense policy. France is ready in both these institutions to deepen work and dialogue with Russia. Now, having dialogue and cooperation is useful, but there seems to be a lack of consistency for the moment, and President Medvedev's proposal does address this issue. So, after all, why all of us? Why shouldn't we, all of us, institutions and countries, come to the table and re-examine all these issues of security? After all, we are at the beginning of a century. We could, I'm sure, look at modernizing ideas, reflexes, habits that still date back to the Cold War. We should do that, we could do that within the OSCE. After all, it is the only forum in which all the actors of the pan-European security are members. And I suggest, therefore, that we should organize an OSCE summit on this issue of pan-European security by the end of next year. Now, this, of course, will require, I'm sure, Dmitry, you will understand that, compromise and mutual understanding. We will have to make an effort to take into account our common security, our interests and our values. We know from history that lasting security in Europe cannot be founded and based on the balance of powers. That is not a guarantor of stability. We need democracy and human rights. They are basic elements of stability. Now, we're not going to lecture anyone. We all have our own weaknesses in each of our countries. But this undoubtedly is the European Union's message. It is that message that I will put forward and promote in our talks on security with Russia. So a pan-European security framework would look at security arrangements on conventional forces and weapons, but also reaffirm these values and the institutions and instruments that guarantee them. This framework must also be the forum for peaceful settlement of these disputes. Indeed, the Georgian crisis has shown us that a so-called frozen conflict can soon become an open war. Finally, and there's no need to say that, this dialogue, I'm sorry to say that once again, Dmitry, but this dialogue must involve our American allies and friends. Now, the Americans do not tell me what to do, but they are our friends, our allies, and there should be no reason why you should be fearful of the relationship between the EU and the United States. We are friends and allies. We have our own understanding. We are no one's agent, so to speak. But if you're talking safety and security from Vladivostok to Vancouver, then our American colleagues are involved. Indeed, the safety of the European continent relies on a strong transatlantic relationship. Now, I feel independent enough to be able to claim the value of this relationship. And I must say that in Europe, we were pleased to enjoy this strong relationship at least twice in our history. Safety in Europe also depends on all of us giving up once and for all on this idea of spheres of influence, respecting also the territorial integrity and the independence of all countries. I know, and the Serbian president will not dispute this fact. The recent history of Serbia was not easy, but Serbia has a vocation to become a European Union. Now, let us remember also that this close abroad that Russia speaks about is often the close abroad of the European Union. In fact, it is our common neighborhood, so we should cooperate there rather than set rivalries amongst each other. Ladies and gentlemen, this increasing crises across the world and these increasingly numerous global challenges have highlighted the dysfunctional world in which we live in, based on the rules from a past era. What we need now is to invent a new global governance. We need to do so to promote peace and prosperity for our people and avoid that international relations should once again become a zero-sum game in which some can win only if others lose. This is a pointless approach. The relationship between Europe and Russia has been put to the test over the last few years. We have to overcome this discomfort together. Indeed, Russia and Europe enjoy a natural and necessary partnership. It will be a major contribution to balance, and it will contribute to the stability of the international order, which we must have to build, that we have to work together. And never over the last few weeks have I felt sorry that I chose dialogue with the Russian President Dmitry Medvedev, which I'm pleased to meet with.